Let's turn to the doctrine itself. Let's turn to the scripture. What do we find? Well, there's a very famous verse in the Quran, and I'm sure this is nothing that the proposition hasn't come up against before, but I'd like to hear some kind of justification for these things, and I'm sure they'll be able to provide them.
Don't do it. Don't do it, my friend. You will make Mohammed Hijab angry. Please. Please. No, don't commit intellectual suicide. Please don't do this.
In the Quran, Surah 4, verse 34, I'm sure you're familiar with, is the verse which I'll quote to you. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other, and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous are women who are devoutly obedient, guarding in their husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them. But if they obey you, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever in grand. So what we have is a situation where the wife is disobedient. Of course, first you try to talk them out. Second, you stop having sex.
Mohammed Hijab is getting angry now. Look at his face. Say, I will show you. How dare you quote this verse of the Quran? We pretended in this debate that we were intellectuals and we were not a stupid cult.
Now, okay. Perhaps this isn't a thing about women. Perhaps this is just a thing about violent behavior. It's just about striking people who are disobedient, and not even disobedient to the husband, but disobedient to God. If someone's being disobedient to God, then they need to be set right. And perhaps the only way to do that sometimes is with physical violence. Well, okay, if that's the case, then let's look at a comparison from a hadith reported by Al-Hakim on disobedient men. So this is in reference to wives talking about their husbands. She should not beat him in case she is stronger than he. If he is more in the wrong than she should plead with him until he is reconciled. If he accepts her pleading, all well and good, and her plea will be accepted by Allah. Well, if he is not reconciled with her, her plea will have reached Allah in any case. So if a woman is disobedient to a man or disobedient to a god, whichever framework you want to think about it, the first thing that the wife should do, if the man is disobedient, is to try and talk him out of it. And if that doesn't work, it's not a problem, because Allah's going to hear it anyway. But if a wife's disobedient to a husband, then sure, he should still try and talk her out of it. But if that doesn't work, well, then you can strike them. Seems to be a bit of an inequality here. And that inequality is only highlighted when we look at the rest of that same hadith. It's preceded by the following. It is not lawful for a woman who believes Allah to allow anyone... it is not lawful for a woman who believes in Allah to allow anyone in her husband's house while he dislikes it. Okay, well, back in the times that this book was written, men were primarily the owners of wealth, so it makes sense if the man is the owner of property, perhaps it should be his decision who's allowed on the property. That's not so much a problem. But let's continue. She should not go out of the house if he dislikes it, and should not obey anyone who contradicts his orders.
Oops, what's happening here? We thought that just because we said we are one, we became intellectuals. Never mind everything else in the Quran. Is that it? Never mind. Hey, Mohammed. Hey, Abbasi, how was your name? Never mind the other stuff. You said you are one, eh? Okay. Everything else is never mind. Okay, just because we said we are one, 700 years after the Greeks and the Jews, almost a millennia, okay? Almost a millennia after the Greeks and the Jews, we said one. And now our cult is complete. And now our cult is complete.
It's getting a bit more questionable now. And to finish off, the very next sentence is, she should not refuse to share his bed. And you can take that to mean what you will. But I'll remind you that if you find any of this objectionable, then you should find objectionable the doctrines from which they spring. Another thing I'd like to talk about, and I'm certain, because I've certainly seen Mr. Hijab respond to this in the past, and it's something I'd love to dive into, is the marriage of the Prophet to Aisha, as certainly the Muslim members of our audience this evening will be aware of, but perhaps not everybody. Muhammad, while in his 50s, married a young girl called Aisha, and I say young, she was 6 at the time. Not 16 or 60, but 6. Now, Of course, he didn't consummate the marriage when she was 6 years old. That would be quite outrageous. He waited another 3 years until she was 9. And the proposition has to defend the idea that that was ever morally permissible. And I think that's my time. Is that my time? Yes. Well, that's all I've got, but believe me, I have more. So we'll leave it for the rebuttal stage. But thank you.
Mohammed Hijab cannot wait. He's very angry. Please. Please.
Next speaker on proposition, Mohammed. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for coming today. Thank you very much for coming. It's first day of Ramadan for us, and we're happy to have you. Now, I've come here, me and Abdullah, actually, we've come here to refute magic. Wait a minute, what did you say? Let me say that one more time. We've come here to refute magic. It's actually an interesting magic trick where there is no bunny, there's no hat, and in fact, there's no magician at all. It's the proposition that something can come from nothing. Not only from nothing, ladies and gentlemen, but from nothing and by nothing.
Okay, let's compare our claims and see whose claim is magic. We say a quantum environment always existed, that with some kind of cosmic natural selection evolved to everything else. You say that there was a man that spoke things into appear. Speaking and things appear is the definition of magic in the dictionary. Okay, Mohammed Hijab. Did you want this argument? Did you want this argument? No. Please continue.
The Quran says, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. Were they created from nothing? Or were they themselves the creators of themselves?
You keep repeating Quranic verses like they say something interesting. Okay, let's deal with this. The philosophical nothing never existed. Why is that? Because philosophers define that nothing in that way. Philosophers say, from nothing, nothing comes. Therefore, that nothing never existed. The only nothing we actually see in the universe is the Lorentz-Krauss nothing, a quantum environment. Scientists discovered that in empty space, no energy, no radiation, literally nothing, particles will appear from literally nothing due to something called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. But let's not go to science. What you need to remember, Mohammed Hijab, is that both atheists and theists agree there was always something. The only difference is that you think that something is the most complicated being ever imagined, and we think that something is the simplest fundamental environment. Okay, that's a difference. So, in other words, your assumption is the extreme end of improbability. Our assumption is inevitable. That's the difference.
Now, we've heard Alex today, for the second time I've heard him say this. He says that the universe may have come into existence from nothing. Minute 14 to 15 in his video, Does the Universe Have a Cause? He says, when the universe came into existence, it well and truly came into existence from nothing. Now, wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a challenge. That's an active claim. He said, I'm not here to make any active claims. Sorry, that is an active claim. Look at the syntax of that particular sentence. You are saying the universe came into existence from nothing. Don't pretend to be passive. Oh, I don't know. No, you do know. You're making a statement. Either you know what you're saying or you don't. Tell me how the universe came into existence from nothing and by nothing, ex nihilo. I want to know. Tell me how that's possible metaphysically, ontologically, cosmologically, from first principles. Give me the answer, please.
Okay, I will give you the answer, but then we expect the same from you. Okay, exactly the same. Although the burden of proof is not equal, in normal terms, I don't have to do anything, and you have to prove your God. Okay, but for you, let's make an exception, because you are such a charming fellow. First, I will explain how our hypothesis works, and then you will explain how your God made the universe. You will explain that. We said equal terms. The same way I will explain how our hypothesis works, you then have to explain what kind of magic your God used. What did he do? Not just say God did it. That's not an explanation. That's like saying magic did it. Okay, so we said equal terms. And remember, the burden of proof is on you. But we are doing you a favor and we are saying equal terms. So let's start. We already established the philosophical nothing never existed. So in ontological terms, something always existed. We agree. In ontological terms, because in cosmology, the only nothing we actually have is the Lorentz-Krauss nothing. But in ontological terms, we agree. There was always something. The only difference of our positions is that we say that something was a quantum environment that evolved to everything else. You say that that something is God. Let's see the difference of those two claims. A quantum environment is the simplest fundamental form. A quantum environment is literally simpler than air. Okay? If you see the sky now, a quantum environment is literally simpler. So, in other words, what we say is that what always existed was something simpler than air. What do you say always existed? You say that what always existed is a being with eternal qualities that chose to make a universe. Literally the extreme end of complexity. What is more probable? Air always existed or an iPhone always existed? What we say is simpler than air. What you say is eternal times more complicated than an iPhone. So, what is more probable? There is no comparison. It's day with night, okay? What we say, it's inevitable. What you say is the extreme end of improbability, therefore impossibility. Okay, Mohammed. Moreover, we have evidence for what we say. What you say is just a story you got from an moronic evil book that also claims comets are demons' missiles and gets all moral questions wrong and thinks the earth is flat and thinks stars are there for the decoration of the sky. That's the difference, my friend. And please tune down your anger a little bit because we might take you seriously.
In his other video, Something from Nothing, where he was debating the contingency argument with a fellow American, or an American man, minute 48, he says this, listen to this. He agrees with the radio guy that was speaking to him, that the universe is a necessary existence. Wait a minute. What's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? What does necessary existence mean? A necessary fact is a fact that cannot be any other way. 2 + 2 = 4. That's eternally going to be the case.
The universe is inevitably here. We agree on that. But this contingency argument, it's the only argument I cannot really grasp what you're trying to say. If by necessary you mean necessary to explain what we see, then yes, we agree. There must be something that is necessary to explain what we see. But if by necessary you mean purpose, then no, the universe operates without purpose. That is the distinction I cannot understand what you mean.
So a necessary existence is eternal. It cannot be any other way. So wait a minute, if the universe is eternal, how could it come from nothing? Contradiction.
You confuse the philosophical nothing with the cosmological nothing. Okay, this guy is referring to the cosmological nothing, the nothing we actually have in the universe, which is the Lorentz-Krauss nothing. You are confusing that nothing means the philosophical nothing. In the ontological level, those two nothings are not the same. So that is what confuses you.
It's a contradiction. You can't have it both ways, my friend. And this is what atheism leads you to. Contradictory set of propositions. Either you have your cake or you want to eat it, what are you going to do with it?
Yet you confuse the philosophical nothing with a cosmological nothing. Okay, please.
Tell me now, did the universe come from nothing? If so, how so? That's an active claim. Is the universe a necessary existence? If so, how so? That is an active claim.
And you don't understand the burden of proof. The atheist doesn't need to demonstrate anything. You are making a positive claim. God exists. You need to provide your evidence. The atheist doesn't need to do anything. Let me make you an analogy to understand how that works. If you say there is a red dragon with butterfly wings in the dark side of the moon, the atheist doesn't need to take a rocket and go to the dark side of the moon to disprove you. You have to give evidence for what you claim. We only believe stuff we have good reasons to do so. We do not believe everything until it's disproven.
Is it eternal? Just, come on, please. Don't pretend to be innocent and agnostic. Number two, you could say, no, there's a multiverse, or there's an eternal fabric, or there's an eternal universe.
Okay, let me help you to understand how that works, because I don't blame you, okay? It's difficult stuff to understand. You are an evolved contingent being in a certain environment, okay? So, your brain is evolved to only grasp its immediate environment in order to survive. So, some things seem absolute to your brain, for you, but they are not absolutes in nature. Einstein proved that time is relative. Okay, imagine you were in the Matrix, and you have a code that for the people inside the Matrix, it's time. Okay, you have another code that it's, I don't know, space. All those are quantities. But for you that you are inside the Matrix, they seem like unbreakable rules. Okay, your mind that is evolved inside the Matrix, you cannot understand that time is just another quantity. In the quantum level, an exotic environment, time and causality, and all the other classical limitations that your head cannot go around, they do actually happen. Einstein proved that with the theory of relativity, and also quantum mechanics demonstrated that. Not your mind, not even the mind of Einstein could grasp these things. And Einstein said, God doesn't play dice, only to be proven wrong by quantum mechanics, that God in fact plays dice. Our mind takes its scales from the environment. That's why modern science could advance if we trust the scientific method, logical or not. In this specific case, we know quantum mechanics doesn't obey causality in the classical sense. Okay, those are some counterintuitive stuff that actually happen. And imagine now the coincidence. Imagine Socrates, 2,400 years ago, with his classical Newtonian mind, thinking the same things you are thinking now, having the classical limitations in his mind. What it needed for him to be wrong? What it needed? And God, in fact, doesn't exist. What it needed? Quantum mechanics, the most fundamental form, being counterintuitive. That's the only thing it needed for him to be wrong. And guess what? What a coincidence. We actually discovered that happens. Is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? I'm asking you, Mohammed Hijab, is that simply a coincidence?
But a multiverse has the propensity of being any other way. And, I'm sure you study philosophy, you know what you're talking about, a possible existence or a contingent existence is defined by being able to be rearranged in any other way. If it can be arranged in another way, it's not necessary. It's possible or contingent. It's not necessary. So a multiverse cannot be necessary existence because it can be arranged in another way. It can be out of existence. So wait a minute. This is very important, guys. Hold on. You agree that there should and ought to be a necessary existence. If you agree with me on that, then you're not an atheist. Because the necessary existence is the Islamic definition of God.
Okay, you are an idiot. I'm trying to constrain myself, but... My friend, just because you can say something in the English language, that doesn't mean it exists. Just because you made a definition, you gave a definition, that doesn't mean it happens. Okay, let me do what you are doing. I have a bottle here. One moment, please. This is a bottle. Can you hear it? It's a bottle. Okay. I say this bottle is eternal. It's also all-powerful. It's also conscious. It exists before time. Let me think another thing. Yes. It's all merciful. Let's see. Yes. The bottle is also not contingent. Wow. The bottle must made the universe. What are you doing? You just name things. You just, out of your head, you name things. What is your God? And say, okay, I named my God this thing. Therefore, it exists and it created the universe. No. In order for something to be true, it needs to also have a relation with reality. You made a sweet story inside your head and you think that happens just because it's internally consistent in your head. And by the way, the bottle I am holding is Evian. So reality is better than fiction. Sorry, I only drink Evian. This is how we do it. We rich people. Thank you.
قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say he is one and only. The self-sufficient, the independent. Meaning the necessary existence.
You dumb person. The people who invented your religion, in quote marks, the people who invented your cult, because it's not even a religion, okay? The people who invented your cult just took a human and imagined all his attributes to the extreme. They didn't discover America, okay? They didn't do any complicated intellectual process. They just took a human and said, let me think, is he all-powerful? Yes, he is all-powerful. Is he all-wise? Yes, he is all-wise. Can he run fast? Yes, he can run fast. Is he merciful? Yes, he is all-merciful. Did he existed? Yes, he eternally existed. We are the robots. That is what they did. Okay. I mean, what is the thing you don't understand? You imagine this as a complex intellectual process. Some retard saying everything to the extreme. I mean, come on. Use your brain.
لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ. He begets not, nor is he begotten. Meaning he's eternal. If you say that there's a necessary existence, you cannot say you're an atheist. From an Islamic perspective. And from a philosophical one. Moreover, we have to ask a question now. We're talking about Islam. So, why is Islam any different from any other religion? Because Islam talks about one necessary existence, one independent, one self-sufficient. Not three in one, one in three.
Islam is a religion made by some nomads in some desert that 700 years after the Greeks and the Jews were preaching about the oneness of God, after 700 years, okay, almost a millennia, some people came in some desert and say, one, eh? One. I can also say one, therefore I said it first, and I am the only monotheistic religion. Do you pray on stones? Yes, we do. Is your God part of a kind? And he needs to make sex to reproduce? Yes, he does. because you just need to see Christian Prince videos to understand what the Islamic scriptures actually say. And Mohammed Hijab, you can always call Christian Prince. He's waiting for you. And make the same arguments, that you are one. And I will buy some popcorn and I will see the comedy.
Not a triune God, not a multiplicity of gods, a plethora of gods, not a pantheism. And by the way, I have to make this clear now. It was a bit of a straw man argument because Alex came up and says that Abdullah said that the universe has a cause. He never said that in the statement. But he had these written things. We never use the word cause. You can have a necessary existence, you can make an ontological argument for a necessary existence without causation at all.
Okay, we get it. Your argument is the contingency argument, without causation. You had causation, but then you gave up. You gave, like always. Now is the contingency argument. Let's see how quantum environment looks like and see what that does to your contingency argument. By the way, your contingency argument only works if we assume nothing is the initial state, which is not. A quantum environment always existed. But let's see how a quantum environment looks like. Contingency. Contingency. Okay.
There's a difference between possibility and contingency on the one hand, or necessity and causation.
Mohammed, you are describing exactly a quantum environment. So, maybe you are an atheist. Maybe you are an atheist. And not the other guy is Muslim. Maybe. We don't know.
You don't even need to, you can have it. You don't believe in causation before the universe? Fallacy of composition? Have it, no problem. You have to explain how there can be a world with only possible existences. How can there be a world with only possible existences? If you say there can't be, and we're happy to say there's a necessary existence, you're no longer an atheist from an Islamic perspective. Because you believe in an independent, self-sufficient thing that everything depends upon.
This dependency argument, I cannot put my head around it. What do you mean by dependent, independent? What do you mean? Okay, what we say is a quantum environment always existed with counterintuitive quantum qualities that evolved to everything else. What do you mean dependent, independent, contingency? Your logic works perfectly when you are talking about people, persons, and in a Newtonian environment with gravity. Okay, this is the initial form of the universe was a singularity in the quantum level where time and causality and dependency doesn't work the same way. Can you understand what I'm saying? I don't know, but it's obviously in the quantum level, the answer. It's not a being with all these convenient qualities just happen to exist forever. Hello, I just happen to exist. Ah, you happen to exist, eh? Not just that, I happen to exist with all these convenient qualities. Ah, really, eh? And not just that, I happen to love Mohammed Hijab's tribe and hate everyone else. And how did you do the universe? I happen to have magic. Conscious beings is the end product of evolution. It's not the initial essence. The initial essence is obviously an environment. Obviously, everything goes from simple to complicated. It doesn't begin with eternal complexity and with magic make simplicity. I mean, come on.
And that is the ultimate explanation for all of existence. Now, a secondary point we need to make is that Islam, the concept of God, the Tawheed, the monotheism.
Wait one moment. Christian Prince, come here for a second. Come here. Does Tawheed means monotheism? No. It means unification. Ah, okay.
It's something not only intuitive, but it's something, as we've seen, that can be reasoned from first principles, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why Already when we just look at the concept of God, so many of the major world religions are ruled out. Christianity is ruled out. Hinduism is ruled out. I would say Sikhism is ruled out.
Okay, let me explain why. Your concept of God is inconsistent, is logically inconsistent and cannot possibly exist, and the concept of the God of Christianity is logically consistent and it can possibly exist. I don't believe it does, but logically it can exist. In other words, the theology of Christianity works, your theology doesn't work. You imply that the character of God doesn't matter as long as he is one. If he is one and if he is God, he can be stupid, immoral, a political dictator, a fascist, hates music, let's marry children, let's take some random Arab and make him the Lord of the universe. Okay, you say that if God is one, all these are justified. Christianity say the opposite, that the character of God is good, the message is good, and you say that it fails because it's one God in three persons. We can reconcile one God in three persons. What it is irreconcilable is the character of God and the message. So, in contradiction with Christianity, your theology fails in the level that we can address. God can be three. He can never be a shallow, low-intelligent political dictator. That is what it cannot possibly be.
Why? Because of that pure monotheism, that respectable monotheism that Islam has to offer. But in addition to that, as Abdullah alluded to, the meta-narrative of there being many prophets aforetime, many of them with the same message of Islamic monotheism, believing in one God and worshipping one God, is something which can be seen in the religious books. What Abraham said, what Moses said, what did they come and say? Even according to Old Testament literature, calling the people to monotheism. So, Islam also has an inbuilt system of falsification. It works in a similar way to science in many ways. 4 challenges, which I'm happy to take questions on the questions and answer, or in the cross-examination. 1, if this book was from other than God, the Quran says about itself, there would have been many contradictions. Chapter 4, verse 92.
A person who says that the Quran has no contradictions, either he is completely ignorant, I mean he haven't opened the Quran yet, or he suffers from some kind of mental issue. Okay? Mohammed Hijab suffers from a mental condition. I call this mental condition, this delusion, the naked king social phenomenon. His excessive love for Islam blinds his mind completely. In another video I made, I pointed out how the Quran has a huge contradiction in the first 5 words of the Quran. In the first 5 words of the Quran, it's got a huge contradiction. The Quran has so many contradictions that it cannot make sense without the hadiths. Okay? It's a book that has so many contradictions that it needs another book to make sense. The Quran is literally the book with the most contradictions from all the books in human history. And Mohammed Hijab thinks the Quran is a miracle of non-contradictions. Okay, that kind of delusion is not a logical error, that is a mental condition. That delusion is in the magnitude of a person thinking that if I put a bomb with nails in a playground, I will go to heaven. Okay, that's the same level of stupidity. No difference whatsoever. Just the subject changes.
Number 2, the inimitability challenge. Try and produce something like it.
You mean like the devil produced a chapter like the Quran and Muhammad thought it was Quran? Like that you mean? Or something else? So in the Quran there is a challenge saying that whoever doubts this book is from God, produce a chapter like this. This challenge goes to humans and jinns. The devil, who is a jinn, wrote Quranic verses and Muhammad thought it was Quran. Okay, so your challenge was met by the devil already. And I really enjoy how your God, in his challenges, he never forgets to mention the genes. He's all for equality. He says, okay, we have humans, genes, so this challenge must go to everybody. He's for equality. Moreover, there was a guy named Omar that said something, and the Quran copied Omar verbatim, what he said. So in the Quran it says, God may forgive you, like Omar said. So in other words, you mean that nobody can make a Quranic verse like God and Omar? Or just God? What's it? Mohammed, please, try again, my friend.
He wrote wise. Wise. If he said whatever wise, he wrote herein all. I mean, this translation is false. Translation is not good. So what it's saying here, Muhammad, he says something. The guy, he said, I will write this, and Muhammad, he said, okay, no problem, write it there. So imagine I'm saying to you, I receive inspiration from Allah, write it for me, and then you start writing, and then you say to me, I think it's better if we write it this way, and then you say to him, you okay, write it the way that you said, it's fine. Obviously, he's a false. So the man, he decided to leave Islam. So look what he says here. He said, if Muhammad is a prophet, like it's verses revealed to him, he revealed it. It's revealed to me too, because I am the one who's saying to me, and he agreed with me.
And there is a quantifiable way of doing so, which we can talk about in the question and answers. Number 3, that Islam makes predictions about the future.
Mohammed Hijab, you can always call Christian Prince and make this argument. And please tell me in advance so I can, as I said, buy some popcorn and some tissues for the laughter. We will all enjoy. Please call him, my friend. And here I conclude that you haven't seen Christian Prince videos. Because if you actually saw these videos and you still make this argument, there are only 2 possibilities. Either you are lying, that I don't think you are lying right now. Either what? Can you be that stupid? I don't think so. You don't seem to be retarded. So, what's going on? You are simply that ignorant. I don't know, my friend. You need to consult your therapist. I'm here for philosophy. I cannot do psychoanalysis.
And it specifies time and place. And this is my claim. It's the only religion to make a series of predictions about the future, none of which have not materialized.
Okay, and now it's the time to produce your evidence. And wait just a moment. Mama, please make some popcorn. Okay, now it's the time to produce your evidence. Tell us, which ones? Tell us that the Romans will be the majority of the population of Earth before the Judgment Day. That the moon is split. What's that exactly? That the second coming will come before a young boy in the time of Muhammad gets old. That prediction. All the things Muhammad said was wrong. Everything, not just wrong, a comedy. We are talking now about a comedy. So, please produce your evidence. And stop wasting our time, you deluded maniac.
Whereas with anyone you want to mention who makes predictions of the future, at least some of their predictions will be falsified. And I'm willing to be tested on this. Test it. It's falsifiable. And in fact, this falsifiability is even stronger than the scientific one. Why? Because in scientific falsifiability, everything is susceptible to falsifiability. Everything that's done now, if I do a scientific experiment, now it can be falsified. But with a retrospective perspective, a hindsight perspective, if predictions have been made of the future, we can see whether those predictions are right or wrong. And we can talk about those predictions there's a book coming out called The Forbidden Prophecies by Aira. That's going to be something which details that case in detail.
Aira, Hamza Georges, you mean now? Hamza Georges, he made a book that the the miracles of embryology in the Quran. Mohammed, how about you have the intellectual courage and say what you mean? Now, tell us a prophecy. Okay, let me tell you what are the prophecies of Mohammed. The moon will be split. You will win in this battle. And they went to the battle and they lost. And then he said, God is just testing you. I mean, Mohammed, the last guy who made this argument in front of Christian Prince became Christian. How about that? That is your fate. If you call Christian Prince and you say, there are predictions in the Quran, in the next 20 minutes you will be Christian.
Of those who left Islam, they became a Muslim again when Muhammad he won the war. So this is a false prophecy. How you say to them, we will never accept your repentance if you leave Islam, and then he accept them. As an example, Abdullah ibn Sarah. Abdullah ibn Sarah is the one, not only he left Islam, he got Muhammad busted. Others, read with me here.
Like,
when Allah showed them into thee, O Muhammad, in your dream on the day of Badr, a few as number, and if he had showed them to thee as many, ye Muslim, you would have it flattered. So Allah he gave Muhammad a false vision. Muhammad here trying to cover himself, he got busted. He told them there will be few, but it was too many. So now he made a false verse saying, oh Allah, he said to me, yes, the reason he told me to tell you it's a few, I saw it in the dream, because if I tell you the truth, you will be scared.
Yeah.
So my friend, did you decide to leave Islam today?
Actually, if we can say, I'm already out of Islam, because I have even stopped saying peace be upon him and Muhammad.
That's wonderful.
Okay, Mohammed, that is you if you call Christian Prince. If you call Christian Prince and you say, there are predictions in the Quran, you will become a Christian, my friend. We are talking now about a 3 hours comedy of failures of predictions. An endless comedy, Mohammed Hijab. 3 hours endless comedy of failures in predictions. Okay, please call him. He's waiting.
Now the interesting thing is you have a nihilist, someone who does not believe in existential, he's an existential nihilist who's cosmic skeptic. He's an existential nihilist, a moral nihilist. He is an epistemological nihilist. He doesn't even believe in morality. And he's making a moral case today. I mean, I don't know how this works. I really don't know. He says, I subjectively value my liberty. In one of his videos, The Moral Argument, 1 hour and 16 minutes. Tell me how, from first principles, liberty works. Is it not based and predicated on a fictitious, hypothetical, mythological state of nature detailed by John Locke and Thomas Hobbes and those individuals? Where's the scientific evidence for that? Why do you believe that? Why do you believe in equality?
First of all, calm down, because you're really scaring. Because you are really scaring us. No, okay, that was too much. First of all, calm down and ask your questions one by one. What you want to know exactly? Tell me again.
John Locke established his equality on the hedonistic principle and on a theory of God.
So, you want to know why equality is the best thing for human societies. Is that what you want to know? Or you want to know why equality is the absolute truth? Because you're right, equality is not an absolute truth. It's just the best thing for human societies. Why is that? Because liberal ideologies that promote equality produce prosperous societies. That's it. Okay? They promote human well-being and reduce unnecessary suffering. Okay, Mohammed. So, the issue is what you want to do. If you want to be happy and create prosperous societies, you need to promote equality. If you want to make a society like ISIS, you promote Islamic rules in the society. So, it depends what you want to do.
Now you're an atheist, trying to find from first principles why you believe in equality. We as Muslims don't believe in second wave feminism. Simple as that. Yeah, there's some things in Islam which are different for men than to women. Why do I have to justify myself to you? You have to justify why that equality of that Eurocentric understanding of equality of second wave feminism in the 60s that emerged is the objective morality.
Mohammed, the only crime in this world is that you are in Oxford and I'm in my room. That is the only crime in this world. That stupid people have a big platform. Okay? Imagine thousands of people are hearing this idiot and think he's saying something clever. Mohammed, literally, now I'm not overstating, when I was 16 years old, I was much more in touch with reality than you now. So, let me help you. Objective is something related to a fixed point of reference. Absolute is the reference by its own merit. Yes, equality is not an absolute truth. There is no heaven that says equality is good. That kind of absolute truths doesn't exist. What we have is objective truths related to the human condition, meaning reducing unnecessary suffering and promoting well-being in the real world. So, in that sense, equality reduces unnecessary suffering and promotes human well-being. That's why we prefer it. Islam increases unnecessary suffering and reduces well-being in the real world. That's why we don't like it.
That's an active claim that you've made. You have to substantiate it. But listen to what he says in his video, My Problem with Sam Harris's Morality. Can I finish off?
Yeah, you got a minute now.
If you go to Somalia and tell those women, why do you put those women in bags? They will accuse you of cultural imperialism. So why are you asking the women if they were put in bags? What kind of discussion is that? What kind of sanctimonious Orientalist understanding of morality is that? You have to first prove your morality. You're a subjective moralist. You don't believe in objective morality. Don't ask me about morality. You don't believe in it. Prove it. That's an active claim.
Morality is related to the environment. It's related to suffering and well-being. A person who says that's not true, that morality is not related to the environment, he must be out of his mind. According to Mohammed Hijab, there is no way to say that Sweden is an objectively better society than ISIS. That is exactly what he's saying right now. He's saying that we cannot objectively say that cutting hands and feet for theft is immoral. That is what he's saying right now. We cannot objectively say that stoning to death a person for his ideas is immoral. This charlatan, decided that he should be the lawyer of immoral things. He decided that his purpose in life is to become the lawyer for immoral things. Who told you that liberty is good? Who told you that? It's not good. Who told you that marrying children is bad? It's not bad. Who told you that? Who told you that cutting hands and feet for theft is immoral? This is just your Western supremacy. It's not immoral. Criminalize homosexuality is not wrong. It's just you being a Western supremacist, a colonialist. Mohammed, how about go to your home now, make a shower to calm your nerves, and sing us a song while dancing lambada. Hello people, this is Socrates' son. In my previous video, a viewer of mine asked if I could sing her a song. So now it's inevitable. I will sing her a song. What can I do? It's not my fault. She's a woman, therefore what can I do? It's the only way this can go. Okay, so from the deepest part of my heart, this goes to Neil Grace. Thank you very much. Ακριβό μου διθέσιο, καλό μου αμάξι, που με πας απ' τα πέσιο, ξυστά κινητήρα και πλαίσιο, στα έχω πειράξει για να τη βγεις πιο μπροστά. Τη στιγμή που σ' αγόραζα για να τρυπάρω, το κενό μου εξαγόραζα δειλά. Την καρδιούλα που χώρισα ίσως να πάρω σ' άλλη ζωή πιο καλά.
Μη με πας απ' το σπίτι, τα ακούς, στο Θεό να με πας. Μη ρωτή για καταλήτη, εσύ μοναχά μ' αγαπάς. Πάρε χρόνη αλήτη, ανθρώπους και αγάπες σκορπάς. Μη με φέρνετε σπίτι, τα ακούς, καπαλούνα